Aside from what's normal, there is no telling what you may find while fishing in the depths of the seas. From floating jackpots to unusual creatures in the shadows, here are some of the captures made by fishermen around the world that no one was supposed to see. Unidentified catch. Moments like these refreshed the fear of dark seas before it could even cease to exist indefinitely. A group of fishermen in May 2012, while on their regular routine of catching fishes in rough waters, caught something very bizarre and only realized that something was off while pulling the net up. Before they could have a good look at it and identify this creature, it started struggling viciously and overwhelming the fishermen that had already had the fear of the unknown. In reaction, one of the fishermen dropped the net back into the sea seconds later. Many speculate that the fisherman may have accidentally caught a mermaid. Snapping turtle saved. A father and daughter were out fishing on the weekend in Baltimore, Ohio, when they noticed a pair of claws of a turtle that were poking out of the water. The claws showed a clear sign of struggle against getting snapped into a pipe, convincing the father to come to the rescue by grabbing them and pulling it out. At first, he used a rope as a precautionary measure in an attempt to pull it out, but after several failed attempts due to strong pressure, he resorted to using his hands to pull it out.
Oh God, why'd you drop them?
Get him on camera.
Oh my God!
Shortly after, he was able to pull the turtle back to the surface, possibly saving its life.
Next time, be a little more careful, please.
Skeleton of mermaid. You might not always like what you find in the water. A video captured by a random source shows what looks to be a real and decaying mermaid skeleton that was found on an undisclosed beach. While looking to catch some small fish in the water, this tiny skeleton was seen along with a human-like skull and tailbones that was picked up in curiosity and immediately dropped upon realization. There is a good chance that this could have been a young mermaid that somehow died or maybe eaten up by an apex predator. Many think that this could be a hoax. It surely looks quite legit. Tasmanian giant crayfish. A film crew in Tasmania, which is an island state of Australia, found the biggest known freshwater crayfish in the world, with the help of a local researcher. They started the search by using several traps with fish as bait and nets, and after a few attempts, a juvenile crayfish was seen leading a fully grown giant female crayfish that was feasting on one of the baits. One has to be careful, as these creatures' claws are enormous and powerful enough to easily rip a finger off. It was measured to be an impressive 61 centimeters in length and over 3 kilograms in weight. Since they are incredibly rare, catching them is strictly forbidden. Massive catch. This catch was so massive that it went viral for it. Seeing that it weighed several tons, most animal lovers got fearful of the catch, as they believed it to be depopulation of fishes in the area. This footage posted randomly on the internet shows a couple of fishermen who may have captured tens of millions of fishes in a huge net. As one of the crew members lets go of the fish, net spills fish crowding all over the boat. Normally, fishermen avoid letting go of juveniles to preserve the species from getting rare. Fish-eating shark. While mud fishing, a fisherman in India stumbled across an interesting case of a dead fish that was trying to eat a shark. It got stuck halfway and presumably died as a result of not being able to move or abandon the prey as the mud started to dry up.
Oh my God! Dead fish!
The shark carcass was so badly stuck in the fish's mouth that despite using water and strength, it didn't come out. As a result, the only way left out was to cut the fish apart to separate it from the shark. Huge Maine lobster. A huge female lobster was captured by a couple of fishermen in the states of Maine. The lobster is the biggest that they ever caught, being as long as his arm while weighing over several pounds. It had thousands of tiny eggs on its back, and since huge lobsters are very rare, the lobster was freed along with some snacks. Every female lobster is said to carry 10,000 eggs per pound, and with this lobster using 7 to 8 pounds in weight, it could carry over 70 to 80,000 eggs. Fish in a whale. While in midst of an aggressive pursuit over its prey, a whale happened to accidentally beach itself somewhere on the coast of Mexico. While the locals were trying to keep the whale soaked up in water, they suddenly noticed something that it carried in its mouth. It had a huge fish that somehow got stuck in its mouth. A local marine biologist confirmed that the whale accidentally beached itself while trying to catch its prey. With the help of fishermen, the whale was tied to boats and dragged back into the water after several hours of effort. Strangest looking fish. A fish that looks like this could be a completely undiscovered species, and it might have been caught for the very first time. In February 2019, while fishing in Colombia, a huge and a very unfamiliar looking fish was caught after getting entangled on the line. From its fins, tails, and random spines to the entire shape of its body, it was completely bizarre looking. It had fur-like material over its eyes and around its mouth and bone-like fragments all over its outer skin. Due to the rarity and unfamiliar nature of the fish, it was, however, decided to let go of the fish back in water. Cyclops albino shark. Certainly, creatures such as these would only reinforce the fear of sharks to the next level. A single-eyed Cyclops albino shark is an extremely rare catch that was made by a Mexican fisherman in the Sea of Cortez. He found a pregnant shark while fishing after it got caught up on a fishing line, and its fetus got torn apart. Once the remains were investigated by the fisherman, this odd-looking shark, with only a single eye in the front, was discovered. Upon examination, marine biologists declared this discovery to be the first one ever to its kind that was officially verified, and its causes were blamed on rapid increase of pollution of the seas. Save the shark. Who knew that even apex predators needed human assistance? A high tide washed this tiger shark up on an Indonesian beach back in 2022. You can see how lost she is, how much pain is in her eyes, and how people are dragging her across the beach makes me feel even more sorry for her. Ancient mummified mermaid. Despite all the modern technology, we weren't able to find a proper mermaid, which is kinda embarrassing. Last year in March, a mysterious-looking creature was allegedly caught in the Pacific Ocean off the Japanese island of Shikoku. Judging by its human face and tail, along with careful examination by marine biologists and archaeologists, it was revealed to be a mermaid from the ancient era belonging to a period between 1736 and 1741. The carcass remained preserved as it was mummified and is now kept in a temple in the city of Ashkuchuchu. Now, either we have failed to capture any actual mermaids, or they have disappeared. Fishermen hit jackpot. Sometimes you can find a lot more than just fish and whales in the sea. For instance, fishermen in Yemen hit $1 million jackpot when they stumbled upon a dead whale that had a 127-kilogram lump of ambergris inside its belly, a substance which is known as floating gold that is rarely formed and used to stabilize the scent in perfumes. Normally, these fishermen only live hand to mouth, but after selling the ambergris to an Amaretti businessman at a price more than $1.5 million. While this payday might be quite huge, these fishermen are not giving up their livelihood anytime soon. Giant manta ray. Another lucky fisher hits a jackpot upon a massive find. In 2020, an Indian fisherman, Subhash Salam, was able to catch a glimpse of a lifetime. 2 giant manta rays were caught in a big haul, with one of them weighing 750 kilograms, and the other over 250 kilograms. The fisherman revealed that he made the huge catch after going deep-sea fishing in Mangalore, off the Malpi port on the Karnataka coast. A huge crowd gathered at the port to get a glimpse of rays that were lifted using cranes. These giant manta rays are known to be an endangered species that could be exported on a handsome price. Largest Caribbean lobster. Now that's a catch just for all-you-can-eat buffet. Local fishermen in the Caribbean on the coast of the town of Manapobu, Puerto Rico, found a lobster so huge that even they were left baffled while on their regular routine of searching for a catch. This lobster was so heavy that it needed multiple grown muscular men to bring it ashore and carry it to the fish market. According to one of these fishermen, it is the largest known lobster that they or anyone in the country has caught, which they sold off for a decade worth of payday. Although most people don't believe this to be true, it surely looks to be. Mud fishing. Every seasonal change results in massive increase and decrease of water levels that creates a mud swap for mudfish. The African mudfish, or lungfish, can live out of water for many months in its burrow of hardened mud beneath a dried-up stream bed. This fisherman in Africa managed to catch dozens of huge mud and lungfishes after extreme weather started to dry up the mud, limiting the movement of the fishes. Although the mudfishes are smooth-skinned and often crawl in the shallows makes it easier to find them, but difficult to catch with bare hands, as they are heavy and slippery. Largest turtle ever. Instead of fleeing or showing any hostile energy, it rather enjoyed being in the spotlight. In June 2019, a group of divers in Tokyo discovered a gigantic turtle in the middle of a feast in a shallow bed of the Pacific Ocean. Knowing how no one would believe them, they decided to capture footage of the huge turtle while maintaining distance. One of the divers reported that they were not only speechless to sight such a magnificent find, but were shocked to see it rather enjoying their company. World record catfish. Bernie Campbell is a British fisherman who caught what was considered to be the world's largest albino catfish in 2013. It is a rare fish species that he was able to catch while fishing on the River Ebro near Barcelona, Spain. The catch surpassed the previous world record by 10 pounds. This catfish was 2.7 meters in length and weighed 227 pounds. With the odds of capturing this fish being 1 in 5,000, Bernie Campbell decided to release the huge catfish back into the river for the preservation of its species. Mantis shrimp. Mantis shrimp is like the praying mantis of the seas. It is known to be the most dangerous of all the crustaceans and shallow water fishes in the ocean. They have as strong a razor and as hard as a hammer that they use to attack and kill prey or predator by either spearing or dismembering them as they strike. Despite this, a daring and talented fisherman managed to capture a mantis shrimp using incredible caution. They had the fastest known punch in the animal kingdom underwater. Mantis shrimp typically are found in many shallow tropical and subtropical marine habitats, as they spend most of their lives sheltering in burrows and holes. They grow around 3.9 inches in length, sometimes 15 inches. Giant stingray discovered. This huge stingray is dubbed to be the world's largest freshwater stingray ever to be found. In June of 2022, a 661-pound stingray was found in shallow waters of Cambodia after a low tide, measuring almost 4 meters in length. A marine biologist from the University of Nevada reported that this is a positive indication that the Mekong River still is full of life.
This was the biggest freshwater fish that's ever been recorded,
despite the increased activity of fishing. After weighing, measuring, and documenting, the stingray was released back into the ocean. The stingray is believed to have surpassed that of a 645-pound Mekong giant stingray that was caught in northern Thailand in 2005. Horseshoe crab. A sea dweller that looks like a crab from underneath, but a stingray from the top. Although horseshoe crabs may have their look and name to that of a crustaceans, they are not actually crabs or crustaceans, but are closely related to spiders and scorpions. Unlike most other sea animals, they are captured for their unique characteristics of blood. Their blood is blue and contains copper and hemocyanin that carries oxygen through their blood. It is used as a key element for some of the pharmaceutical drugs. They are found in shallow coastal waters on soft, sandy, or muddy bottoms. Unknown fish caught. Ever caught a fish and found it to be way too hollow to be a fish? A group of fishermen caught a really long yet hollow fish that had a body as slim as a piece of cloth. It only had little or any flesh surface over the face. Despite the generational family tradition and several years of fishing, they couldn't identify the nature or species of this fish. Could it be an oarfish or some kind of eel? If you happen to know more about this fish, do share with us down in the comments. Whale lets tourists touch. While on cruise out in the ocean, a group of passengers got to experience a moment that would never be forgotten. The passengers bumped into a pod of giant gray whales that were friendly enough to play around with. In the footage, the underwater mammals can be seen approaching the side of the boat and letting the passengers pet its head, and one of them even gave it a kiss. Judging from its posture, the mammals seemed to be encouraging with its playful intentions. Before parting ways, the whale even started pushing the vessel along in a moment which awestruck its occupants, who were able to capture it. This picture and video was captured a year ago, showing a mysterious, terrifying creature in a river somewhere in Uzbekistan. Fishermen from an undisclosed area make a peace offering to a scary-looking entity that lives in the river. Rumor has it that in exchange for their offering of chicken meat, this underwater monster permits them fishing from its river. The recorder of this video, upon disbelief, decided to join the fishermen in an expedition and curiosity to see it for himself. Upon sighting it, he was left speechless, and although wanted to get a closer view, but maintained distance for obvious reasons. To date, this creature still remains a mystery. Could this be a mermaid? Or some extraterrestrial being that happens to have settled in the river? Do share with us your opinion down in the comments. Babies scooped in mouth. If your parents have never scooped you up in a similar manner, you probably may not be the favorite child. Wildlife experts, while studying the behavior of a mother crocodile, managed to document a very special moment between her and her offspring. They planted a dummy croc with a camera, showing how the mother crocodile picks up her young in the mouth, knowing that they aren't safe on the land, while taking them for the first time ever swimming lesson. Despite being submerged into the water, the camera still manages to keep recording.
With such a variety of animals on our planet, it's perhaps no surprise that researchers are continuously discovering new ones. You never quite know what's going to be announced next, and sometimes they're beyond belief.
Oh my god! Did you see that?
With that said, let's take a look at 15 of the strangest creatures that have recently been discovered. Number 15. Ocean sunfish. Ocean sunfish, also known as mola mola, are one of the largest bony fish species on Earth. When fully grown, they can weigh anything between 554 and 2,205 pounds and are on average around 6 feet long. Their bulk is made up in their width and height though, with some specimens measuring 10.5 feet tall and 8 feet 2 from fin to fin. They can be found in warmer ocean waters around the world, where they hunt their diet of jelly, squid, and crustaceans. They can swim across the various levels of the ocean and have been found ranging between the surface and the seafloor. Apart from their unusual look and incredible size, one of the most amazing things about this species is that they produce more eggs than any other vertebrate that we know of, and can release as many as 300 million at once. Of course, this reflects the low chances they have of reaching maturity, as when they're small, they don't have the same defensive bulk as the adults. Because of their size when fully grown, they have very few natural predators, but are commonly targeted by sea lions, killer whales, sharks, and humans. Time for the rare topic. We found these images that were recently taken by a research team working in South America, and as you can see, they found something quite extraordinary. About 4 feet tall, this creature hasn't yet been given an official name, but it looks like something that's come straight out of a fantasy movie. Almost human-like in appearance, it has extremely long hands and feet, and ears that appear to be perfectly adapted to hearing sounds across vast distances in the jungle. What do you think it is? Number 14. Lasiognathus dyneema. The deep ocean is a mysterious place that we are only just starting to learn far more about.
Our author will through a chemical process known as bioluminescence.
In this world, which is flooded with darkness because sunlight can't penetrate that far down, the various species have developed ingenious techniques for survival. Food is scarce, and predators have to take every opportunity they can for a meal, and one of the most famous types of adaptations is a bioluminescent lure. One of the more recent species to be discovered that uses one of these is the Lasiognathus dyneema. It's a type of wolf trap anglerfish that dangles a light in front of its head to attract other fish. Those that fall for the trap swim almost directly into its mouth, and all it needs to do is bite at the right time. This species lives in the northern Gulf of Mexico at depths of between 3,000 and 5,000 feet. What may surprise you is the difference in size of males and females of all the anglerfish species. The ones we see images of are the females because the males are much smaller. So much so that when it's time to mate, they're actually absorbed into the female's body and are used as an extra source of nutrition. Number 13. Headless chicken monster. At first, you might be skeptical to hear of an animal that's been given a Latin name that literally translates to mean the headless chicken monster. But everything becomes clear once you actually see it. The species was first seen in 2018 during an underwater dive by a rover from a team of Australian researchers who were exploring the ecosystem in the Southern Ocean just off the coast of Antarctica. Amongst various species they'd seen before, this one suddenly appeared and has been identified as a type of deep-sea cucumber. It uses its wing-like fins to swim through the water, and in the video, the strange red creature was seen searching the seabed with its tentacles. Species like this feed on small particles like algae and can cover large areas every day in their quest for food. Apart from its appearance, which does indeed look like a chicken without a head, this species has an adaptation that hasn't been seen in a sea cucumber before. While they spend most of their lives at the bottom of the ocean, these ones are actually able to use their fins to swim upwards, which suggests they're also able to harvest food from the water column. Headless chicken monsters have only ever been seen 2 times, with the other being in the Gulf of Mexico, so it's not quite clear yet quite how widespread they are. Number 12. Wallace's giant bee. While we've known about Wallace's giant bee for a long time, having been named after a researcher called Wallace, who first described them in 1858, they had long been thought to be extinct until a recent discovery. They're the largest known bee species in the world, and the females can grow to be 1.5 inches long, with an open wingspan of up to 2.5 inches. They're black resin bees, which means they don't live in the large communities more commonly associated with honeybees. Instead, they're thought to take over termite nests inside trees and use tree resin to further reinforce the walls for protection. There are only 3 islands in the world where they are known to have existed, all of which are in Indonesia. Because of their life cycles and the remoteness of where they live, very little is known about their distribution or how many of them there are. But to give an idea of how elusive these giant bees are, there have only been 4 sightings in the past 40 years, 1 in 1981, 2 in 2018, and 1 in 2019. For the first time, a living female was recorded on video. Number 11. Giant squids. For hundreds of years, seafarers have told tales of huge monsters that live in the open oceans. Just look at ancient maps and you'll see they're decorated with warnings of what may lurk in the depths. But for a long time, people thought they were just the insane rambling tales of people who'd spent too long away from dry land. More recently, however, it's been discovered that there's a phenomenon called deep sea gigantism. That means for some reason, certain species that live at great depths are able to grow to unbelievable sizes. One of these is the giant squid. And while we've known a lot about them for a long time because of carcasses that are washed up on shore, it was only recently that a living specimen has been seen in its natural environment. They have the biggest eyes of any known animal and are thought to be able to grow to up to 43 feet long. Their tentacles are used to wrap around prey and suffocate it, in a similar way to how constrictor snakes do, and then pull the food towards their sharp beaks. Japanese researchers managed to capture the first video footage of a giant squid in 2004, and in 2019, the first one in US waters was also recorded. There remains debate about how prevalent these creatures truly are throughout the ocean and how many different species there might be, but with improving technology, we might soon find out. Number 10. Hog-nosed rat. These cute animals are called hog-nosed rats, and it's only recently in 2015 that researchers discovered them on the island of Sulawesi in Indonesia. The only place on the island where they've been seen is on the slopes of Mount Dako, where the rodents forage for earthworms and beetles. To find food in this environment, they've developed specific adaptations. The most obvious is their noses, which help them smell the best places to dig, and their front feet are perfect for pulling the earth aside to see what's below. Unusually for rats, their incisors are particularly long, something that's believed to have developed so they can puncture their prey and pull it from the ground, and for some reason they have much longer pubic hair than any other known rat. Their jaws, however, aren't as powerful as those of other related species, which is probably because worms and beetle larvae don't require forceful chewing. As a recently discovered species, it's not yet clear how many there are or whether they live on other parts of the island too. Animals that are confined to one specific location are at a much higher risk of rapid population decline due to environmental or human causes, so researchers are trying to determine whether they should be classified as being at risk of extinction. Number 9. Neopalpa donaldtrumpi. As such powerful and influential people, presidents often have streets, schools, and warships named after them. But biologists also like to name newly discovered animals in their honor too, and it's been no different for Donald Trump. Meet the Neopalpa donaldtrumpi, a species of moth that was discovered in Southern California and northern Mexico in 2017. The thing that makes it stand out from other Neopalpa moths is the yellowish-white color of its head scales, and this is why it seemed obvious to name it after the president. The scientist who chose the name admitted he had another motive too. Doing so brought attention to the species and helped highlight how important it is to protect fragile habitats around the world. The Neopalpa donaldtrumpi is particularly susceptible to urbanization because of the regions where they're found, and it's possible they won't be around for much longer. The moths are no more than a few inches long, but their antennae extend beyond this and are themselves about 2/3 the length of their wings. Both males and females look very similar to each other, but for some reason their reproductive organs are much smaller than in other comparable species. Number 8. Sea toad. Sea toads are a type of deep-sea anglerfish that live in the waters of the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans at depths of around 8,000 feet. They're bizarre-looking creatures with large, transparent, bulbous bodies, short tails, and they're covered in small, spiny scales. They're believed to grow to a maximum size of around 12 inches long and have a unique adaptation to their gills that means they can inhale large amounts of water, which results in their body size increasing by almost a third. This is a useful defensive technique because it makes any potential predators think twice about attacking. Like all anglerfish, one of their dorsal fins has a bioluminescent lure that hangs in front of their mouths to attract prey, and their other fins resemble legs. With these, they appear to walk across the seabed, and in some videos seem to stand still on one leg in the silt, almost like a flamingo. With these adaptations to their fins, they aren't very good swimmers and have been seen using their legs to help traverse the environment and escape from danger. We've still got far more to learn about them, and researchers think there are far more unusual creatures like this still waiting to be found. Number 7. Sciophila sugimoto. Most plant species in the world feed themselves by photosynthesis, where they absorb sunlight and carbon dioxide to convert into energy. That's why they have green leaves, because only green wavelengths of light are useful for this process. There are, however, some species of plants that aren't able to harness the sun's rays, like the recently discovered Sciophila sugimoto, which uses an entirely different method altogether. found on Ishigaki Island in Japan, where they've developed in isolation from the rest of the world. They are what's known as mycoheterotrophic plants, which means that they've developed a symbiotic relationship with a type of fungus. They share nutrients between each other, with the fungus responsible for extracting the nutrients from the environment, and the Pseudophila Sugimoto helping to prevent any other plants from growing nearby that would compete for resources. They also provide the color that attracts animals and insects, which transport the pollen and seeds to different parts of the island so new plants and fungi can grow. It's the perfect example of two species working together in harmony, and without each other, it would be much more difficult for them to thrive. Number 6. Cave-dwelling beetle. Caves are some of the best places to explore if you want to find a new species, as the dark and dingy environment provides plenty of hiding places that previous researchers may have overlooked. One recent discovery was the cave-dwelling beetle, whose scientific name is Schudites bellus and is only found in Duan in the Chinese province of Guangxi. It has been described as being the most extremely cave-adapted technique ever to have been found, and it's perfectly suited to its surroundings. No light enters the cave where they live, so they have no eyes, but they also haven't got any wings or pigmentation. They have thin bodies that are up to 1/3 of an inch long and 1/20th of an inch wide, and can be easily identified by their yellowish-brown color and a shiny head. As they are a species only recently known to science, and because it's difficult to observe them in their natural environment, it's not yet known how they hunt for food or even what they like to eat. They're thought to scavenge for microplant particles in the cave, but it's also possible they eat creatures that are smaller than themselves too. Number 5. Tardigrades. Tardigrades are one of the most unbelievable known species on Earth, and even though they were first discovered in the 18th century, we're only just learning how special these microscopic animals are. They grow to a maximum size of 1/50th of an inch long and are plump, with 4 pairs of legs that end with claws or sucking discs. There are around 1,300 different known tardigrade species, but each of them possess similar capabilities. The reason why they're so important to science is that they can adapt and survive to any environment that they're placed in. It doesn't matter how hot or cold they are. They can survive extreme radiation, extreme pressures, and a complete lack of air or food. Just one of these would be enough to kill virtually any other known animal. But tardigrades can form a shell around themselves and re-emerge when things are safe again. Normally they're found in water or on lichens and mosses, and where communities live, they exist in huge numbers. 1 liter of water can contain as many as 25,000 individuals, and they eat exclusively plants or bacteria. Tardigrades have been around for hundreds of millions of years and have survived through all 5 of the known extinction events that have devastated the planet. It's hoped that by learning more about them, we can find ways to help protect ourselves in extreme environments, with a particular focus on how to stay healthy during long-term space flights. Number 4. Niloptodes grete beetle. This is the Niloptodes grete beetle, a species that was first collected in Kenya during the 1960s, but was only recently uncovered in a museum's collection and was officially named and recognized in 2019. They're pale yellow and gold in color and are no more than 3/100ths of an inch long. They're so tiny that the original collection of them is thought to be the only time they've ever been seen, and is also why they're so easily lost within the museum's archives. This species has no eyes or wings and can be told apart from other similar beetles because of the telltale pit that can be found on its face where the eyes would normally be. They live in lead litter and soil where they can look for fungus and spores to feed on, something which is made easier by their sensitive antennae. These structures are often said to resemble ponytails, and this is why the beetle was given the name Niloptodes grete, after Greta Thunberg, the influential teenage environmental campaigner who wears her hair in a similar way. Number 3. Loridia collini spider. There are 3 species of Loridia spiders: the Loridia annulips, the Loridia collini, and the Loridia lucasi. All named after the guitarist and lead singer for the Velvet Underground, Lou Reed, because they're a type of velvet spider that, you guessed it, live underground. Found in Andalusia and the southern coast of Spain, they live in hills and mountainous terrain, and like the velvet spiders that live above ground, they have some unusual characteristics. The first is that they've been found to work in communities and assist each other with rearing the young. They have an almost unheard of maternal instinct for spiders and literally sacrifice themselves for their young, unlike many other species of spiders that have even been seen to eat their own hatchlings. The mother of this species, however, begin to liquefy their own internal organs to provide food for the spiderlings, and continues to do so until she has no more to give. Once this happens, the young will eat the rest of her body too, and only then will they go out into the wider world. Number 2. Leaf-tailed gecko. There are hundreds of different types of species of lizards and geckos around the world, but there's one island where they've evolved separately to everywhere else, and is home to countless unique species, Madagascar. Hardly a year goes by without the announcement of an incredible new find, and 2019 was a particularly special year with the revelation of a new species of leaf-tailed gecko, found exclusively in the Ankarana Special Reserve. They look quite similar to other leaf-tailed geckos, but have some noticeable differences. Their tails, for example, are quite a bit longer, and they have smooth skin on their backs. At first, researchers just thought they'd found an unusual specimen of a different species, but after finding several more, they realized that they stumbled across a whole new one. One of the other things that makes them different is the coloration on the insides of their mouths. Other species have mouths that are totally black, but this new one has red patches. Now officially named the Uroplatus fetzi, which means sly because of their hiding techniques. Work is now underway to find out how far-ranging they are and whether they're facing any threats. Number 1. Vogelkop superb bird. Birds of paradise are some of the most stunning and unique looking birds in the world. Found across New Guinea and eastern Australia, there were 41 known species until 2018, when one that was originally classified as a subspecies was officially elevated to being recognized as a species in its own right. Now known to be distinctly different from the very similar looking superb bird of paradise, these ones are called Vogelkop birds of paradise and live in the mountains of the Bird's Neck Peninsula in western New Guinea. Amazingly, they have plumage that's a deep shade of black that they absorb 99% of the light that shines onto them. But as you'll see from these images, this darkness is offset by turquoise blue feathers that play a particularly important role in their mating ritual. Birds of paradise are renowned for their odd dances and courtship routines, and this species is no different. In fact, the way that they hop around is so different from other birds that it's one of the reasons researchers started to realize that they were their own species in the first place.